I was still stirred up from that chase in Pathos when I started Trance. It seems the game would have a wild tone shifts whenever the developer thought it would be good to do so. It was basically locked into my head that this was a ROM hack of some kind. What kind of sicko puts that neat thing into a children's game and then releases it in stores? I didn't even know if ROM hacks could be directly put into cartridges. It didn't matter to me. It never even crossed my mind if putting a hack in a cartridge was possible. I wanted to get to the end of the game, to the credits, and see if there was any explanation there. Trance, like Pathos, was an entirely new board. It had a green hue to it and a weird, atmospheric music. It had long, droning sounds with occasional beeps between parts. Very sinister sounding. It picked up with some faint, muffled drum sounds occasionally. Much like the last planet, it had brand new levels. 3 total. Fog Mountains, Green Temples, and Dark Forests. The bosses were not Hedora, not Varan, and one I didn't recognize. When I selected the new monster, the name came up blank. I suppose I'm not learning its name until I have to battle it. Great. When we entered the board, an icon I failed to mention was right next to Godzilla. It was a question mark. I was really curious on what this mystery level could be, so I entered it first. Creepy face. I had 2 dialogue options. Either yes or no. Not really a yes or no question what this little guy asked me. But alright, I suppose yes would be the nicest option. Oh no. And just like that, I was being ambushed by Blight, an entirely new monster, seemingly made out of goop. He had considerably less health than most bosses, I suppose to make up for the surprise attack. Something I noticed during the fight was that Godzilla could jump higher than he normally could, so I could hit the bastard. Thanks, game. The music was strange, similar to the board theme, but also a distinct rhythm and with a much faster tempo. Occasionally, the sound of what I could assume was big crushed waves played. Blight had a few moves, but he moved so fast to one another that I only captured 2. He would spew a laser from his mouth, shoot teeth at you, which pushed you to the left of the screen, laugh at you, which would deplete your power bar by quite a bit, or grab you with his tongue and swing you around like a pendulum. His laugh seemed identical to Ganon's from Zelda 2. When I got him down to 1 bar of life left, this happened. And he escaped. The bastard got away. What an unsatisfying way to end an annoying fight. I hope I wouldn't have to see him again. The music slowly faded as I returned to the board. A boss fight isn't really how you're meant to start a world, but it didn't matter much. Next up was the Fog Mountains. This was a massive blow to the ROM hack theory. Translucency was impossible on the NES, no matter what. I found myself frequently pausing to rationalize what I was seeing. I came to the conclusion that it actually isn't translucent fog in the image, but it was creating an entirely new sprite that looked like it was under fog. I was trying to make this make sense. The explanation above made sense for the time. I had mostly tried to take my mind off of what the NES could and couldn't do. The Fog Mountains were relatively simple. There were no obstacles, much like the mountain level on Pathos. The music was calm with an almost music box-like sound to it. It was quiet and mysterious, like you just found a clue in a murder mystery game. It was surprisingly nice. Reassuring, almost. The enemies of this level were floating skulls with green pupils. They would shoot out small forms of ball-like projectiles, occasionally. Every 7 or so dropped a life capsule, making this quite the safe level to be in. Out of all the levels in this world, this one was my favorite. Without much to stop me, I moved to the next level as the fog rolled by. Next was the Green Temples. No wonder why this game was so strange. The creator was drugged out of his mind. Jokes aside, this level was very trippy to say the least. Horse skull bat thing swarmed the level, vomiting acidic fluid onto Godzilla, which would drain your health. I only took the screen cap of the one, but it felt like there was always a horse bat annoying you. They were a bit tanky, but dropped some health on death, so that was nice at least. There was also this curled up figure that blended in with the environment. They would hide in the background, and if you didn't heat beam or tail whip them away, they would explode in your face. This dealt a considerable chunk of damage and killed the thing as well. I only now realize that there were 2 in this screen cap, and I just remembered the one. It goes to show how sneaky these things were. The music only added to the trippiness of the level. It's hard to describe, but it had rapid snare beats, just very trippy and chaotic. Not much else interesting happened, but not Varan moved up to Godzilla, so it was time to fight him. This weird thing replaced Varan. At first I thought it was some kind of llama creature. It'd kick you, as well as decreasing your power bar by a little bit when it did so. What I was severely unprepared for was when it did this. So we're fighting another robot creature. Great, I know. These missiles would slam you against the other side of the arena, as well as deal about a bar of damage to you as well. Annoying, but they could be destroyed by Godzilla's punch. But right as I thought it had ran out of dirty tricks, it pulled this out of nowhere. It could extend its neck and shoot me from behind. Very aggravating, but it didn't do much damage. His other half was active during this as well, still kicking me. The fight ended soon after I took this screenshot. With Not Varan dead, it was time to deal with Not Hedora. But before I fought her, I entered another Fog Mountains level to regenerate some health. But this world always seemed to have a surprise up its sleeve. A hole was in the mountains at the end of the level, and Godzilla entered it without any input from my controller. Also, it seemed the hole wasn't affected by the fog, so this backed up my previous claim of it all being smoke and mirrors spreading magic. What waited for me on the other side was very shocking. An entirely new map. This place must have been inside the mountains. It had no name as I entered, so I assume we were in some sub-area of Trance. The music still had that trance feel to it, but it was much quieter and muffled. Like the sound was coming from outside the caves. There was only one level type, so nothing to do but continue instead of lingering on the board. The level had the exact same theme as the board. You would have to smash through stalagmites and make sure the stalactites didn't fall on you. These levels almost had a rhythm to it. You would smash the ground stalagmites, watch to see if the one above would fall, then keep moving. There are absolutely no enemies, just environmental hazards. About halfway through the sub-area, I found this little buddy. The cave music stopped and changed to this calm melody, like you were in the arms of someone you loved. When I walked up to him, he had something to say.
Oh God! Please don't kill me!
There was no dialogue option, so I simply waited.
Are you just gonna stand there?
His dialogue progressed naturally. No input required.
I'm just gonna go. See ya, friend. Also, beware the queen. Do not engage.
And just like that, this little guy was gone. It was nice to see something that didn't want to disembowel me for once. There was no name shown, so I called him Little Yellow. He brought me a sense of comfort when he was on screen. I don't know how to describe it. It was like seeing an old friend. I progressed through the cave some more, and on the last level of the area, I found something new. Not anything living, but new. When I walked up to them, this popped on screen. It played the sound effect you hear when you beat a boss. I didn't know what these pills did, but having them made me feel conflicted in a way. Hard to describe, you know. After I collected the pills, I was booted all the way back to the main board. I was 2 tiles away from not Hedora, so I went through one last set of fog levels. It wouldn't take long for me to discover what those pills I found did. However, as soon as I pressed the start button to release an atomic ray, this happened. Everything was vibrating very quickly, and it was getting hard to make things out. Wild music played. No real set rhyme or rhythm. Blaring noises and heavy drums with synths in the back. Frequent beeping sound effects, sounding like Morse code. Very chaotic. But would occasionally slow with a bell sample sound. Playing some tune. If all this wasn't bad enough, my health would rapidly decrease. If I weren't in a fog mountain level where the health was abundant, I don't think my monster would have made it. It ended after a minute or so, but felt way longer in the moment. Like when you're holding a plank and time seemingly slows. I breathed an audible sigh of relief as the colors dulled out and the shaking pixels quit. I paused my game for a quick soda break, processing everything that just happened. When my break was over, it was time for not Hedora. This slug horse thing had replaced Hedora, and judging by its similar features to the horse bats, this is probably the queen that Little Yellow was talking about. I didn't take many screenshots of this fight due to having to focus on it. Not Hedora was smarter than most enemies, and knew how to control a fight with its quick punches. Every now and then, Not Hedora would screech, sending out a small army of horse bat things. When Not Hedora did this, she also vomited acidic acid onto me. Like mother, like son. Once Not Hedora was dealt with, I moved on to the last level type of trance. The Dark Forests. This level was the eeriest of all of them. It had no enemies, and no music, except for the sound of blowing wind. When I was playing through the level, I had this strange feeling, deep in my gut. Have you ever felt the feeling of being watched? That sixth sense you have in your body? That's what I felt whenever I was playing through the Dark Forest level. These levels would also go on for quite a long time, 3 minutes each. However, one level was special. It was at the bottom of the map. It started like normal, but I found something strange about halfway through. A heart on a tree with no limbs, it looked like. When this came on screen, all the music was completely cut out. It cut to black suddenly, and it was gone. The music started to pick up again, with a faint stomping sounds coming from behind Godzilla. Whatever was watching me has decided to pursue me, and I was not interested in being caught. Whatever light the level had dimmed, creating a very eerie environment. I couldn't tell at the time, but looking at the screenshot, it looked like I was being chased by a dark Godzilla. I have no idea what that means, but I managed to escape it. Having just done another chase sequence, I was not excited to run from that thing again. But then I had an idea. what if I went around the mystery monster and went for the base? When I tried to do that, this happened. The game freaked out when I tried this, spamming the same message over and over. My little trick didn't work, and the mystery monster was moved directly in front of my monster. I would have to go through another chase sequence, much to my dismay. But I couldn't think about that now. I had to fight. The mystery monster was a hellhawk. I have no idea what a hellhawk is meant to be, or if it's even a real kaiju. The hellhawk was a simple fight. Where Gabbro was up in your face and aggressive, the hellhawk was anything but. It would actively keep distance from the player, and strike at the best moment it could find. It would kick with its sharp talons, peck at you, or do a super peck that stunned your monster and required to charge up. When I got it to low enough health, it began to flap its wing as an attempt to escape like Blight did earlier. Hell yeah! You ain't getting away! That boss fight was actually quite fun, and a much-needed break from the annoying bosses beforehand. In my excitement, I had completely forgotten about the chase level. But there it was. It was there, unmoving, waiting for me. Once again, the music had completely cut out. It was time for the second chase of many. I was dreading it. This chase started out the same, with a fiery hellscape in the back. I could only wait for the abomination to start coming for me. Like before, I heard the sound of meat being squeezed and bones cracking behind me. As the amalgamation came onto screen, the ground began to disintegrate and collapse. I had to time my jumps in order not to fall in. Putrid hands came from the ground, trying to pull me in. The beast had grown new limbs from itself, groaning in pain as it did so. It was melting as it jumped across and got closer. I could hear choking sounds coming from it. The eyes of the thing were also much darker from when I last saw it. I think it was actively decomposing, like a zombie without skin. As I reached the end of the level, I felt like all that mattered at this point was getting away from this fucking thing. One last effort to catch me, or maybe throw me off guard, or horrify me. It opened its maw wide in an attempt to swallow Godzilla. It was still making muffled screaming sounds as it did this, but I managed to escape again. My monster still intact. The level cut to black as I left the screen, and I was sent back to the board, Godzilla now absent. A wave of reassurance crashed over me as I fell back into my chair once more. It seemed these chase levels couldn't just be the same as each other. But it was time to move to the next planet. I couldn't dwell forever. I moved Mothra to the base, and went to the next planet. Dementia.